No, you can't bribe the judge. It's been a while since I've made one of these. Actually, not that long. Not that long. But anyway, we're gonna switch things up just a tiny bit. Most of these stories have been picked out by my friend, and she is. I didn't read any of them, so I don't know what we're getting into. I just organize them like, hey, this is longest to shortest. This one looks like it has the most interesting beef, and the spiciest, and the tastiest, and the most crispy, crunchy one, based on the titles. But I will be reading off of this. I the jerk for peeing in the cat tray. Allow me to get my case filed. Okay, this is weird. I'm using a throwaway because this is so embarrassing. Me, 29F, and my partner, 25M, have been dating for 3 years and have lived together for one of those. We live in a small 1-bedroom flat that has 1 bathroom with our 2 cats. In case you don't know what a flat is, it is an apartment. I am a diabetic and I'm on a number of medications. One of them basically flushes sugar straight through my system and can make me pee a lot. I can go from not feeling like I need to pee to if I don't pee in the next 20 seconds, I will pee myself. It comes on suddenly sometimes. My BF has IBS. We will put in the definition for IBS. And he can spend 40 minutes in the restroom easily sometimes. This hasn't been a problem thus far. Today though, he had a bad IBS moment, and after 40 minutes locked in the restroom, I felt that I needed to pee. I figured he wouldn't be very long since he already been in there 40 minutes. I knocked on the door and let him know that I needed to pee and asked him how long he'd be. He said he'd be a few minutes. No problem. 20 minutes later, so he's been in there for an hour at this point. I am kind of doing the potty dance, knock on the door again. He's gonna be a few more minutes. I tell him I'm not gonna be able to hold it much longer. If he could just unlock the door and I'll just hop in the shower. He says he can't get off the toilet right now. Fair enough. Another 15 minutes and my bladder is starting to hurt, and he hasn't flushed or anything. I figure, frick it, my bladder hurts. And I'm bursting, and I figured the cats would forgive me. We have 2 litter trays, one in the bathroom and one in the nook in the corridor. So I'm assuming there's like a spot in the corridor, like their hallway. Anyway, I pop a squat. They squat over the litter box in the corridor and have a tingle, use the restroom, and use a kitchen towel to wipe. I then bag up the litter tray and completely refresh it. He comes out another 10 minutes and later and says the bathroom's free. I tell him it's fine. He gives me a funny look and I tell him what I did. He looks at me absolutely disgusted and says that it is revolting. I tell him I'd rather just refresh the litter tray, which takes seconds, than piss myself and have to do a ton of washing. He hasn't spoken to me all evening. He says he can't believe I would do something so gross. I tried to tell him a number of times I really needed to go, and he said I should learn to hold it better. That has kinda left me feeling like a jerk. Interesting. No, I don't believe they're a jerk. Here's why. I don't believe they are because, from my understanding, they said, hey, I am sick with diabetes. And they explained, hey, I either really need to go sometimes to the point I can't hold it, or I don't really need to go at all. I'm assuming this was one of those moments where they're like, hey, I really need to go right now due to this. And then their boyfriend also has an illness, so I understand it's like a two-way street. Like, they both have necessities in terms of the restroom. But the problem here is that the boyfriend's like, oh, you should learn how to hold it better. But like, they were using the restroom for so long, considering that they both have restroom related issues. So you can't be as insensitive to be like, well, you should learn how to hold it for my issues. Like, no, you both have issues that require the restroom, so you can't be as insensitive to be like,
no, I won't leave the restroom just because you told me. No, I have more prioritizing needs in the restroom.
Also, yeah, I get it. Like, using the restroom in the litter box is kind of like, but like, if you don't have another restroom, I understand it. Like, I get it. I do. There's been instances where I have been like, I need to use a restroom, and out of the 2 restrooms that we have, neither of them are available. But I would say, a really messed up bladder where I'm just like, I can hold it for a good amount of time, so. So I get it, like, it's gross, yeah, but like, there's no need for you to try to overshadow her issues with the fact that you both have restroom related issues. Like, it just doesn't make sense. They should probably work that out. Be like, okay, well, in this instance, again, if you're using the restroom, seeing how long you take in there, we should probably find a way so that I can use the restroom. I would have said the sink, but like, some people put the food directly in the sink, like, so I wouldn't say that. Like, we don't put the food directly in the sink. That's weird. That's no. But no, they are not the jerk. Case closed. Okay. this next story, very yeah. Anyway, am I the jerk for not letting my girlfriend wear her unique dress to a wedding? I'm going to summarize. So essentially, the protagonist is a man, and he describes his girlfriend as loving to incorporate memes into the way she uses her overall clothes, like, oh, little frog, you know, the memes, and she likes to incorporate it into her everyday attire. Yes. So said protagonist gets invited to a wedding of 2 gay men, right? Congrats, we love the wedding. The point is, though, that she I want to get the exact words because it's very important. She wants to wear a dress inspired on the meme gay rat wedding. And then she explained that she wants to wear said dress in order to support these 2 gay men in their marriage. And then the protagonist goes on to explain that said friend of the wedding does not really appreciate her everyday to-day attire, which consists of memes, so on and so forth. And then the protagonist then tells his girlfriend, hey, I don't think it's really appropriate to wear this to a wedding because it might be misinterpreted, and they already do not really appreciate the way you dress, so it's better to, you know, stick to something more with the times, you know, like appropriate attire, They also say that said girlfriend has a Reddit account, and they were trying to use a separate account in order to make sure that they don't find this post. They go on to say that they found the post anyway, and the conversation did not go well, and she, despite the community's responses, she still thought, hey, this is a good idea, I'm just supporting, and she would not back down from her idea of a gown to said wedding, and so on and so forth. The protagonist is now single and went to the wedding without the rat dress. No, I do not think he's the jerk. I adjourn. He's not the jerk. This is coming from someone who is part of the community. You can't do that. You just can't. Let me explain. She wasn't part of the community. From my understanding, it was not described in the story that she was part of the community. She just said she was supporting, which puts her outside of the bench. Like, it can be misinterpreted so hard because why are you saying rats? And also, not everyone in the community appreciates that meme of like, oh, like everyone in the community likes rats. Like, I'm not that big of a fanatic for rats. Like, they're okay, but like they're not my favorite. Obviously, there's some people who like them more, some people who like them less. You can't. It's just layers and layers of like, why? Because one, it's formal. It is a wedding. You're supposed to go, even if you don't like it, you're supposed to go dressed like, oh, this is something that I need to look nice for. Even if it's just once a year, it's okay. I'll break the way I usually dress from day to day just for this event because it is very important. You understand? And then second, not everyone appreciates those memes. And like they said in this story, the friend didn't appreciate those memes. So no, if you already see that they don't appreciate it, this isn't about you. This day is not dedicated for you. So you should at least respect their wishes in terms of their biggest day. 3, it can be heavily misinterpreted. And even if you think it's just a joke, and you're like, oh, well, they use it, why can't I use it? And by they, I mean people of the community, such as, you know, myself and, like, people of the community. Like, no. Because, how do I describe it? How do I describe this? It's like when... I'm trying to think, because there's something very specific in terms of jokes for like Mexicans as well that people were trying to take over, but like the joke wasn't landing because they weren't part of the community and they were just trying to take it up. I know there was a joke, I just don't remember what it was, but like it wasn't landing because they weren't part of the community and it was superficial the way they were trying to make it land, and it just was not working. So that's what I'm thinking about. I just can't remember what it was. It's from the top of my head. But anyway. No. Like, I know you're trying to be an ally, but this is not the way to best represent it. Just be respectful. Do your thing, but in a way that does not hurt people's feelings unnecessarily. You don't have to. They didn't do anything to you. Don't do anything to them. Respectful. Respect goes both ways. That's it. Don't try to push yourself into places you do not need to be in. Yes. Also, this is no hate for anyone. It's just that, like, please be respectful. And keep in mind, things may not come off the way you want them to. And before you do things, think, hey, do I have the position to be making these jokes or saying the things that I am currently saying? Just a lesson for today. Before we get into this next one, I will pause it just so you guys can read it because it's pretty long, so I couldn't fit all of it into just one. So here's the first section. Pause if you need to read it. Second section. I'm not sure if that's super tiny or not. But I tried. But I will explain anyway, so you guys won't be missing it entirely. So anyway. Am I the jerk for hiding embarrassing notes in my house as a joke because I know my fiance mom's Snoop? So I'm going to summarize TLDR. So essentially, our protagonists, they do not mention their pronouns. I'm going to try to be neutral as possible. Anyway, so they mention that they are with their boyfriend of 4 years and only recently has their partner actually tried to move in, but most of the stuff in said apartment is actually theirs. So, you know, it's like, hey, I'm just here, but none of my stuff is here with me. Yeah. So anyway, the mother-in-law comes to visit and she mentions that said mother-in-law likes to snoop a lot, which means like they go into their stuff, very chismosa behavior, like, hey, what do you have here, or da-da-da-da, essentially. So anyway, said mother-in-law finds a note on the protagonist's monitor. They're like, it's just a compliment to themselves, like, hey, a little boost, like, you're doing great, you know, keep moving, do your best thing. and so on and so forth. They made a comment on it. The mother-in-law, she was like, "That's kind of weird. Why are you doing that?" And the protagonists didn't take too much to it. They were just like, I mean, okay. So then they decided to do it this time, but while they were drunk. So they left more notes with their friend, like little affirmations basically, all throughout the building, and they were hidden, and put into places where, like, if you're looking, you'll find them. So anyway, the mother-in-law goes on to find them, doesn't say anything to the protagonist, but begins to act weird towards the protagonist and only confronts her son about it. She's like, "Oh, your date's kind of weird. You're what was going on with them?" So then the partner of the protagonist goes, "Hey, is everything okay? What's going on with these? Why? What?" And then the protagonist says, "How did you even find these? How did they even find these? These were just planted and hidden. And yeah, why? Well, how do you know these?" Anyway, the partner goes on to explain, "My mother found them because she was tanning up," and then the protagonist says, "That is because they were snooping and looking into places they should not have been looking into." The partner says, "Was this a joke for my parent?" The protagonist says, "Yeah, in part, it really was a joke because I know they snoop and look into my stuff." And they were supposed to interpret those warnings as like, I mean, those those little notes as like, "Hey, if you don't want to see more weird stuff, probably stop looking into my stuff. If you don't want to. So then the partner says, "You are putting me in a tight spot between my mother and you because you're making things tough on your end." So now they're wondering, am I the jerk? No, they're not the jerk. Absolutely not. Oh my god. I can't. Because they're not. They're not. Because, like, imagine someone's going into your stuff, basically your stuff, like they said. It's important. They mentioned, they were like, "Hey, most of the stuff in that building, that apartment, that flat, that home, everything is mostly mine, 95%, because he has not moved in his stuff yet. So why are you looking into the stuff? You got no business cleaning." And then they were using excuses like,
I'm just helping you clean. Like, why are you so worried?
"If you were cleaning, what were you doing in drawers?" I don't think drawers require cleaning. I don't think clothes in drawers get dusty. And if they do, you just put them in the wash. But, like, that is my business. What are you doing touching undergarments and stuff that goes below the clothes? You know what I mean? Like, what are you doing? And then they have, like, the audacity to comment,
Do you have a massive ego because, like, you have little affirming comments everywhere?
like, is your ego fragile or something? Are you okay? What if you need a little boost? What does it matter to you? And secondly, you're not the one dating the protagonist. You're literally the mother-in-law. If you should only be worried if they are mistreating or show a red flag for your son, which they didn't. It was literally for funnies, and they literally caught you in the act. So I've seen something like this before, and it's so weird because, like, it's apparently that parents have such a hard time letting their kid go that they start, like, invading their space. They're like, "Oh,
Where are you going? Oh, let me go with you too.
no. No. It's so bad." Because, and then a lot of the stuff, like she mentioned, isn't really his. So, like, the necessity, why? I'm assuming they would have put the excuse of like, isn't it 50-50? Like, but they're not married, so you can't really use that excuse. So I don't know about that one, Chief. And then I hate that the partner is like, oh, you put me between my mother and you. Like, no, you could just tell them to like, hey, maybe tone it down, and you could probably only come to the apartment if there is an emergency. Just maybe don't visit as much. I mean, like, yeah, that's a bit of a line cross, but like seeing how they are and how they're invasive, I would probably put that down. Like, maybe not so much, because if we really need help cleaning, we'll clean it ourselves. We gotta become independent, right? Right. So maybe just chill for a little bit. Hold it back a tad bit. Do I think they're the jerk? No. No, they're not. That has been all. I hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment if you think they're the bad guy or the good guy, especially for that mother-in-law thing, because it's so common apparently for so many people, because they're like so used to their parents doing that stuff. I don't know, but anyway, bye bye.